How was Jalen Williams taken just 12th overall in the 2022 NBA draft? In just 3 seasons, he has become an All-Star, an All-NBA team member, an All-Defensive team member, and most importantly, a 2025 NBA champion. Being compared to Scottie Pippen, J-Dub is a 6'6", athletic, two-way wing who is an elite shooter, a lockdown defender at all 5 positions, and can run the point guard spot when SGA is resting. Somehow, J-Dub seems to be going underrated and underappreciated, but now it's time to give him the recognition he deserves as one of the top players in the NBA, period. I went over almost half of the guys on this list in my last video about the players drafted before Benedict Mathurin, so I'm really not going to go over, every one of them individually and make a full-on players drafted before video, but yeah, still, J-Dub, you look at the list, obviously this is a very, very good draft class, the 2022 draft class, but yeah, J-Dub, he's really cemented himself as one of the best players in this 2022 class. His two-way abilities on both ends, like I said, being compared to Scottie Pippen as of recently in the NBA Finals. But yeah, I think a lot of the guys you can see, right, from Jabari Smith, Keegan Murray, Jaden Ivey, Benedict Mathurin, even these guys that haven't maybe taken that star leap just yet, I have to imagine with their team situations, they will probably get there. Even like Shaedon Sharpe, Dyson Daniels, obviously he had a breakout season. We also have Jeremy Sohan, right, an excellent, two-way player, kind of a glue guy, can help you on both ends of the court. But yeah, there's just a lot of good players on this list. You also have Johnny Davis, you have Ousmane Dieng, who is actually Jalen Williams' teammate right now in OKC. But yeah, obviously a very, very good list of players, but Jalen Williams at just the 12th pick has cemented himself as easily one of the top players in this draft class, along with his other teammate Chet Holmgren, who obviously was at number 2, obviously a key defensive piece to this Thunder team, and his ability to stretch the floor at the 5 position is obviously big for this Thunder squad. Yeah, this Thunder team, man, they are so young and so good, but it's going to be a mystery, though, whether they can keep this team together or not, because AM Hoops recently made a video, and I would encourage you guys to go check that out, but basically saying, look, like, SGA is going to be up for an extension, and obviously, too, with Jalen Williams, right, like, he's going to need a big, huge contract extension himself, right? He's going to come off his 3rd year. I believe he's going to be extension eligible this offseason. I would say, though, it's likely the Thunder wouldn't give him a contract until a year from now. But still, either way, this Thunder team, yes, they're going to have to figure out the financial part of this squad because, you're paying Isaiah Hartenstein $30 million a year. You're paying Alex Caruso $20 million a year, right? And you still are going to have to give extensions, right, to Jalen Williams and Chet Holmgren. And obviously, SGA, being that he was the MVP and Finals MVP, been the best point guard in the league all year, he's obviously going to get a massive pay raise as well, even despite him being on obviously a very large contract at the moment. But let's get back to Jalen Williams. I think his pivotal 40-point game in Game 5, I think, really shifted this series. I think people will look back, to Game 4, obviously, when SGA took over, and I understand all of that, right? Like, the Pacers really had a good shot to go up 3-1 in this NBA Finals, but J-Dub putting up 40 points in Game 5, the Thunder had partially been criticized for really, not having a second option per se, but I was kind of confused by that because Jalen Williams has shown to be a really good secondary option all playoffs and really all season, even last year in the 2024 season as well, when they were also number 1 in the West. But J-Dub having 40 points in Game 5, absolutely taking over, doing it on both ends of the court. Like early in the year when both Chet and Isaiah Hartenstein were out, like he was basically playing center, and the Thunder were still winning. They were still on that 55-60 win pace, even then without their 2 centers even playing. So it's really crazy, man, the depth that this Thunder team has. But J-Dub, he is really, he's the perfect co-star to Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. I feel like I really don't say this about many players, but like Jalen Williams really has no weaknesses. If you guys can find one in his game, like, let me know down below, but he can create shots off the dribble. He's obviously a good spot-up shooter. He doesn't need the ball in his hands. He can defend all 5 positions. He's got length, size. He's got a great basketball IQ. He doesn't turn the ball over. Like, I generally don't know a weakness that Jalen Williams has in his game. He is such a polished all-around player. And obviously, right, like this culminated in a breakout year. We average over 21 points per game and 5 assists, and you can see these incremental improvements year over year over year. And even in his rookie season, right, like, I don't know if really anybody expected him to start. To be honest with you, I didn't really know who Jalen Williams was. I don't really follow college basketball that much. It seemed like he would get a role on that Thunder squad, but they had so many guards at the time. But man, he's just cemented himself as the perfect co-star to Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. And in the NBA Finals, he averaged 23.6 points, 5 rebounds, and 3.7 assists, according to StatMuse. Like I said, all that culminating in that 40-point game in Game 5. He was just tremendous. And obviously, if SGA, wasn't the player that he was, sure, you would probably give Jalen Williams that finals MVP any day. And I love what SGA said during the trophy presentation. He basically said, hey, look, like, this finals MVP trophy, this is, J-Dub's basically, right? Just as much as it is mine. Like, I'm sharing this with him. And I know I'm kind of paraphrasing that. Those weren't, SGA's exact words, but basically he was saying, look, like, J-Dubs deserves just as much credit, for this finals MVP, right? Like, what he does on both ends of the court for this Thunder squad, they definitely wouldn't have made the NBA Finals, let alone won against a very just pesky and just persistent Pacers team. I don't think they would have won without that Jalen Williams Game 5. That was a huge pivotal moment in this series because the Pacers had already stolen, a game in home court, obviously in Game 1 with that Tyrese Halliburton game winner. And then, obviously, like I said, Pacers could have gone up 3-1, but I think, at least in the back of my mind, I was like, hey, you know what, the Pacers could steal at Game 5, and J-Dub was like, nah, that is literally not happening. So it's awesome to see, what this Thunder team has done, but also too, just kind of before I end off this video here, prayers up for Tyrese Halliburton. Man, that was one of the most heartbreaking injuries I've probably ever seen watching a game. I mean, obviously, as a Warriors fan, right, like, we've seen a lot of different injuries and things happen, right, from, Kevin Durant's Achilles injury, and, this injury to Tyrese sort of seems similar in a way, just because Tyrese came out of the game absolutely on fire, and then, obviously, like I said, it looks like, it's probably going to be a torn Achilles if I had to guess. But yeah, man, just prayers up for Tyrese Halliburton. That was definitely one of the saddest injuries I've probably ever seen. I mean, you could hear Brian Windhorst after the game. You could see him visibly and emotionally shaken up, and he's witnessed a lot. Man, it's just heartbreaking. From the Pacers' perspective, like, they almost had this, right? Like, they almost beat the 68-win Thunder team, who was one of the best NBA rosters ever constructed, one of the best NBA rosters of all time, and the Pacers were right there. I mean, they were leading at halftime without Tyrese Halliburton playing most of that first half. So it's just heartbreaking for the Pacers, but like, Jalen Williams, man, just getting back to him, like, he was just amazing this whole playoffs, and I hope the Thunder can find a way to keep him, SGA, and Chet together long term, because like I said, you're paying Alex Caruso and Isaiah Hartenstein a combined like $50 million. Obviously, SGA is probably going to be due for a pay raise, and you're going to have to re-sign some of these other role players on the squad, right? Let's say like Cason Wallace, Isaiah Joe, right? So obviously, Sam Presti and Thunder, they got a lot of decisions to make, and they do have the potential to be a really good dynasty, but it's going to be up to Sam Presti and the Thunder, organization to see if they want to keep this team together. What are they going to do? Are they going to ask some guys to take pay cuts? Maybe Jalen Williams will take a pay cut. I have no idea, but this Thunder team, man, they're so selfless. You can really see they play for each other. They celebrate each other, and obviously, Jalen Williams, an integral and crucial part of that, but still goes back to the point with how good he has been. How was he drafted just 12th overall in the 2022 NBA draft? I mean, his two-way skill set, it's amazing, and I hope he is part of the Oklahoma City Thunder organization for a long, long time. So thank you guys so much for watching. Hope you enjoyed the video, and I will see you guys in the next one. Peace out.